All right, everybody, we've got a table full of scrap here. Let's see what we can turn it into. Over 42 pounds. Did you expect it? Let me show you how we did it. And basically what we have here is a pile of scrap. Buddy of mine was tearing down a building, said he thought there was some aluminum over there. Come on over and grab whatever scrap I wanted. So I grabbed a handful of miscellaneous stuff. We're gonna melt it down today. I got some bigger stuff I'm actually gonna cut up. I got this old bandsaw I put together. Got it up and running. Let's see if we can cut everything into smaller sizes. I am using a larger crucible here just to make sure I don't have to cut as small. We can get everything to fit in here. What I'm gonna melt it down to, something I'm gonna start doing a little differently is I'm gonna melt them all into this size. And these are basically oven pans. I've used before muffin pans, sorry. I'm gonna make these size little bricks and see how many from now till the end of the year, how many we can make and how much weight we can get out of it. Out of all the aluminum melt. Still gonna do some other little melts, but with molds and things, that'll be different. But any major melts I do, I'm gonna do in that size so we can collect them in that size and see what we come up with. And what you can see here is some things, this is all aluminum here, but I will have to cut that. So you'll see me cutting this stuff up. A lot of this stuff up front's good. You get into some of this stuff, I'm actually gonna take the handle off here, and then I've got aluminum there, both the handle and this, just some bolts. And then some of these other pieces all need torn down. So I'm gonna tear them down first, get everything to where I have just the aluminum, and then we're actually gonna use a saw, cut everything to size, and then we're gonna start melting. So keep watching.
Here what I'm trying to do is just there's in each of these parts or some of the parts there's just some small little screws, pins, things like that in it. So I'm just really going through each part trying to get everything out that I can. There's a few parts that I won't be able to, but I'll actually melt those on top of the crucible. You'll see on top of the forge itself, you'll see that. But just try and take everything apart, get all the aluminum out that we can, and the steel off to the side. So we'll just keep working on it and then we'll get to cutting it all down. Here I'm just using the bandsaw that I talked about earlier on, just cutting through, and it cut through really nice. Obviously I'm fast forwarding, but it cut through the aluminum really well. Able to get them down to small pieces. There's only a couple pieces I was not able to cut through, as I had problems on the very end of with the saw itself. But cutting through everything I wanted, exactly how I wanted it.
All right, we're done tearing everything up. Basically, I've had this for a little bit and saved it because I wanted to make sure I had a good way to cut it up because it was larger pieces. You can see some of the round pieces, cut nice size, fit in here good, perfect, no issues at all. The saw worked great up until it didn't. It hasn't been used in 20 plus years, so I did some work to it, new blade on it. Had some problems with the guide rollers, so it warmed up the blade. So I've got a couple pieces that didn't melt or didn't cut as well. We're going to try melting those as is, see how they do. But we got plenty more here to melt, so I'm going to get everything cleaned up. Won't really show you that, but I'll show you starting to set up once we get to that point, and then we'll start doing a melt. All right, let's see how many of these we can make. All right, let's get to it. already had my tank here, and I have it in water as well. And what the water does is, with the pressure going out, it causes the tank to freeze. So the water just prevents it from freezing, allows it to, as it freezes, it has less pressure inside. And the less pressure, the worse case, the harder it is for it to actually melt and get the pressure to the forge that we need. So have it in water. Hope we don't need it, but we have it there anyways. Now I've already got the crucible full, and I actually am using thinner stuff. These are the fan blades you saw me cut up. I actually smashed them together. I'll show you that video, how I did it now. It's very simple, but let's go to that right now. Alright, so I got these folded up, as you saw, and I'm putting those in. They're thinner, they should melt quicker. So, as I've said, if you're watching my videos before, what I've learned is once I get the nice molted aluminum at the bottom, or any metal at the bottom, it's easy to continue putting stuff, feed stuff in and melt, helps it melt. So we'll try to get that pulled quicker and go from there. So we'll get this moved away from the wall a little bit. And you see me use different gloves. I always have a couple sets around. After a while, the gloves I've used do get warm. And where I'm holding the crucible with my tongs, it's pretty close. So these get warm pretty quick. So you'll see me mid-technique sometimes switch gloves out because the gloves are just too hot. So anybody knows of better gloves out there that they use and keep their hands nice and cool, let me know. We're dealing with real hot metal, so I understand it, but just give you a heads up, that's why I use a lot of different gloves. So we'll go ahead and get this started. The way I get it started, I just lay a little piece of paper, try to get going, and I'll drop it right down in front of where the propane comes out. That one out. Might have one out again. Can do it this way. Okay, we got it lit. I'm actually going to shut the lid, and then we'll add probably a little more propane, and we'll add air to it. Air is what creates the heat the most, so a combination of the two, but you'll see it's what really, so it's about the right pressure I run it at. was doing there is just mixing it up, trying to get everything to the bottom. So we had the molted aluminum at the bottom. It just seems to melt this stuff quicker when it's down there. So when we get a nice gel going. So still sticking with some small pieces.
Just trying to add some additional aluminum into the pot after each pour, but I'm trying to leave enough in it so it gets melted, and then slow motion the flames. I enjoy the flames of the slow motion, so you can see once I start adding the air, it really comes around every area it can go through. So again, just trying to get as much in, trying to get my area prepped up, put some water there just so I can put the bars in the water itself. I want to start going to using ice more. You can see the boiling of the water here. Later you'll see me putting a larger bar in. It actually boils all over the floor. So we'll just keep melting as much as we can and go from there. So what you see me doing here is putting a larger piece of aluminum on there that I could not cut. So just putting it on top there and then trying to give you a close up to where it's actually melting, dripping down inside the forge into the crucible that's inside there. So it just seems to be working well, better than I thought. So I'll melt this side, take it off, get a little while, and then melt the other side down until we can get it small enough to fit it in the crucible itself. So one thing I'd like to point out is you see me pouring in here. These are bread pans. They're very thin pans. So you see how red, how hot they get really quick. So they're expanding with the metal, with the aluminum itself. If I leave them and don't touch them, the aluminum will cool, the pan will cool, and the aluminum cools at a faster rate, so it actually shrinks more than the pan does, so we can get it out. If I actually try to get it out too soon and the aluminum's not cooled yet, then it actually will stick into the pan. And you can see how the pans cool down, as I mentioned. In this one, I actually did try to move them both, try to get them out too quick. So the aluminum had spread, and then as it cooled quicker, the metal pan was shrinking back down and just tightened it around it. So wasn't able to use these anymore, so I had to switch to different sizes, and I'll talk a little more about that as well. As you can see me pouring into the graphite molds, they don't turn red, they hold the heat a lot better. So definitely a lot better if you have graphite, utilize those. I have some cast ones I use as well. The pans are something I've been trying to use, just different sizes. And I can get them anywhere a lot more readily. Sorry about that. But you're going to see here in a minute where I'm actually going to pour into a larger pan. See, I'm heating it up a little bit there. I just get moisture out of it, and then as I pour into it, you're going to see it turn red, just as the smaller ones did. Again, it's a lot thinner, doesn't hold the heat as well as the graphite does, so it's going to pour in there, just turn the mold red, the pan. It's really not a mold, it's a pan itself. Turn the pan red, and then I just have to make sure I leave it alone, don't touch it, to allow everything to cool. So here it is here. You can see the red slowly creeping up on the pan itself.
Alright, well, I'm going to let these cool a little bit, get them out of the containers, maybe clean the area up a little bit, and then we'll get back to melting. Alright, be right back. Alright, so we messed around with the pans a little bit. This one actually came out, those two came out. Just need a little longer time to cool. The smaller ones, what I believe happens is I tried turning it before it was cool, so then it spreads out and gets tight onto the pan itself. So it did not shrink enough, didn't cool, they're still in the pans. I will get those out, but just gonna finish up this pour using these. Just need to let them cool, so I'll pour those two, and then while they're pouring, I'll melt and do this one, fill this one, and then while I'm melting some more, then I'll pull those out. So I just need to make sure I give it enough time. So I've got some still in here, a little bit more. I'm actually going to work on melting that on the top as we did before. It actually seemed to work out really well.
I have the same piece I had earlier. I'm just now melting the other side, so we'll get both sides melted down. In the middle, I'll be able to put right in the crucible itself. But you can see it's melting pretty good. So we'll just keep melting that down, keep melting all the rest of the aluminum to finish it up. Here's where I'm taking the large aluminum, putting it in this pan. Obviously the pan's too small. I'm putting it in water, it's already hot, so it's boiling, just boiling over. Definitely should use ice, definitely should use a bigger pan, so a lot of opportunities there. We'll keep doing it. Not perfect, learn from everything we do.
All right, got quite a few melted. I'll get them all out, cleaned up, stacked up. We'll weigh them and then we'll show you how it looks. All right, just one moment. All right, everyone, this is the final tally. A little surprising, didn't expect this much. Our plan was to start off with making all of the bread pans this size and just make them throughout the year. Let's see how we can come up. Got a couple of them stuck in the pans. So shifted away to graphite molds, which I have some of those. And then also went to the big bread pans. I don't do too many of these because unless I have something big, I'm gonna remelt later. But if I'm just gonna save them for the year, this might be the best way if I have a lot of aluminum to do. But when you look at total, this here ended up with about 16 pounds, 10 ounces, give or take a little bit. This was 8 pounds, 14 ounces. Over here, we're at 17 pounds, 5 ounces. So altogether, we got about 42 pounds, 13 ounces. That's a good start. Considering it's the beginning of April, we'll go ahead and save for the rest of the year and see how many pounds we can come up with of just aluminum. We'll do other pours, but gonna save our aluminum and see exactly what we can come up with, all right? Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button, trying to build the channel. If you have any questions of what we did here, or if you have any ideas, suggestions, please leave them in the comments. Let us know. We're always looking to grow. All right. Thank you very much. Talk to you later.